So I'm going to, first of all, anyone who is not at a table, I need you to come up to a table. So drag your chairs up to a table here. We are about to get outside of PowerPoint. You've got a couple more minutes. And so what we're going to do for the next session in the morning and then also the afternoon sessions is we're going to go through some of those different teaching modalities. We're going to play some games. We're going to do a lot of role playing. We're going to do some scenarios. We're going to do a lot of hands-on. And so what we want is by the end of the day that you will not only get some of the information that we're going to teach within those sessions, but also some ideas on how to go about teaching that, because you were all just invited to teach at different conferences and to do other things. So not only are you all students, but you're also teachers. So I'm going to talk very briefly about how to actually start writing a scenario. I'm not going to try to convince you that simulation is a great way to learn. We just talked about, Tracy just went over quite a few different reasons why getting out there and hands-on and role-playing is great. So when you're trying to, and then in a few minutes we're going to all start writing a scenario. So this is just kind of getting you into thinking about how to do it. So when you're trying to write a scenario, there's two different ways to do it. You can either approach it from the top down or the bottom up. So you can decide what you want to teach and then kind of write down the key learning points, the critical actions, and then build your scenario from what you're trying to teach. For example, if you want to teach someone how to put on a splint on the leg, then you said, oh, my critical actions are you need to immobilize the joint above and below. I want them to assess for sensory and neuro deficits before and after the splint, and I want them to be able to carry that person 10 feet without the splint falling off and then reassess the neurovascular status. So those are your critical actions. And then that's how you build it. So, okay, well, I need a broken bone, so I'm going to make this person fall. So you can build the scenario that way. The other way you can do it is you can be out in an environment. So you are out in a place that maybe on a wilderness day, you're at a lunch spot that has a good bouldering place, and you're like, I want to build a scenario here. It's a great place to do a fall. And then you say, okay, well, I'm going to have them fall, I'm going to have them break their leg, and then we're going to put them in a splint and carry them. So you get the same scenario, but coming from two different ways. So it's really important to set the scene when you are writing a wilderness scenario, because a 55-year-old male with shortness of breath, if this was in the 70-degree fluorescent ER, then that is, you're thinking about one line, certain differential. But if they are on the 1-mile bird watching trail at the local park versus on a dive boat in Honduras or on a 7-day backcountry camping trip, maybe at altitude in November, we're talking about not only does it expand your differential, maybe it changes your treatment options, how you're going to evacuate these people, and how you're going to get help to them, and maybe even your willingness to and your ability to help. So environment can change, many different things. So when you're writing this, you need to know the location. Where is the nearest place that you are? Your environment. Are you at altitude? Are you at depth? Are you on an avalanche slope? Are there alligators or snakes or something nearby? What's the weather? Is it 90 degrees? Is it, minus 10? The time of day. Is it about to be dark and you're going to have to think about keeping somebody out overnight? Is it, what gear do you have with you? Do you have a full pack or do you have nothing? Did you just go out on a trail run and you've got nothing but your car keys and you run across somebody who needs some help? And how are you, what transportation do you have? Who are you going to call, and how long is it going to take them to get there? I broke it. Okay, and then you had to figure out a way how to assess whether or not your scenario taught them. So I talked about critical actions. That's one way to do it. It kind of goes towards the oral boards that in emergency medicine we all have to take. They have a number of critical actions that they're trying to check off that you actually did, like give a tetanus shot and things like that. And so one way to write a scenario is to have a certain number of these critical actions that you have proctors that kind of go through, okay, well, they actually did immobilize the joints above and below, and actually check the neurovascular status. Most of these start with scene safety, assessing the ABCs, and then getting help, which is what Tracy kind of was talking about as well. So this is a sample scenario. I don't want you to read it, but basically you start with like you talking about what it is. So you're bouldering in Colorado when team member B falls from a height. They're unconscious. They have an obvious deformity of the left leg. So here's the scene. You are a 1 mile walk from the parking lot where you left your cell phone. It's 80 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny, but rain is predicted. So that kind of sets where you are and how you might start getting help. And then here are some of the actions for this particular scenario. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're all going to spend a couple of minutes here starting to write a scenario. So you can write it on your own, or if you like, I have a way to kind of help you. You can take a slip of paper from these 3 bags and kind of put them together. You might have to trade them around to see which ones. Do you mind handing these out to people? Sure. And just try to, you can get different pieces of paper and put them together and see if you can just come up with a couple of things that you might start writing a scenario.